How many people do you know who struggle with their health? Chances are, whether they show it or not, most of the people in your life do. And chances are, you're one of them. Whether you're dealing with anxiety, depression, endometriosis, acne, eczema, autoimmune, thyroid, Lyme, brain fog, fatigue, or any other symptom or condition, you're far from alone. Living with symptoms has become the new normal. So no more guessing games. It's time to get answers. Welcome to the Medical Medium Podcast. I'm Anthony William. Many years ago, a practitioner friend reached out to me, said he had a patient, bad acid reflux. And he said, what do we do? Celery juice? I said, yeah, definitely do the celery juice. Do the 16 ounces to start with, see how it goes from there. He called me back, said the person was fixed. Acid reflux, gone. And that was that. And then he contacted me again, and he said he had somebody that had hives, full body hives, rashes everywhere. He said, celery juice again? I said, yeah, celery juice. But you might want to take out dairy, eggs, gluten, and have the celery juice in there. And he did. He got rid of the dairy, the eggs, the gluten, and he brought in celery juice. And I said, make sure it's 32 ounces of celery juice every single morning. And he did it. He let me know after a while and said it was fixed. The problem was fixed. Now, he could have just taken that experience and just left it at that. So every patient that came in from then and thereon, he gave them celery juice, took out wheat and dairy and eggs, and that's fine if he wanted to do that. But he didn't do that because he got another patient in there. And that patient already took out the wheat, the dairy, the gluten, and the eggs and everything else, and was doing really good with their diet. He then put them on celery juice. But it wasn't moving the patient as far as they needed to move the patient. The patient had eczema, patient had some psoriasis, patient had even some vitiligo mixed in with it. There was more to what was happening underneath it all. And that patient wasn't just going to be fixed. He knew, no, we need more. So he called me up and he talked to me about it. And he said, I got this patient doing 32 ounces of celery juice. I got this patient taking out the dairy. They've already taken out the dairy, Anthony. They've already taken out the other stuff. What do I do? And I said, we got to go further. Because that's not the acid reflux case. That's not the other case with the hives. Everybody is different. Everybody is different. Because everybody has something in them that's different than the other person has that's in them. Different toxins, different poisons, different metals, different kinds of metals, different viruses, different bacteria, different strains of viruses, different strains of bacteria, all of that. They had something different. And then different emotional experiences under enormous stress. Some people, tragic losses, hardships, all of this combined makes everybody different. Now, they needed something more. So, well, what do we do? And I said, well, we have to go deeper. We got to get those metals out. So you need the spirulina. You need the cilantro. You need the dulse. You need the barley grass juice powder. You need the wild blueberry. We need to go deeper. We need to get the metals out first so the skin can start to heal. And the thing is that's the point right there. He was like, well, how do we know that the skin problem is because of the metals? because it was medical medium information, because research and science didn't know, the health world didn't know. So the protocol was to the cause, the true cause. And that true cause was the toxic heavy metals being a big part of it. So the practitioner applied it, did the spirulina, did the heavy metal detox smoothie, kept the celery juice in, made some improvements in the diet, even more so, and then the skin started clearing up. The healing started to happen. This practitioner just didn't stop at that one patient that had a little acid reflux and said, well, celery juice fixed it. Amazing. That's the experience that patient had. That's all that everybody's going to need. No, he didn't do that. He realized that recent patient needed supplementation. It was more than just a food or foods. It was the heavy metal detox smoothie, which had spirulina in it, which was a supplement. Barley grass juice powder in there, which was a supplement. He realized, wait a minute here. And then he realized in the health world, any supplements that were out there and other practitioners like himself and other doctors, because they didn't know what caused the eczema and the psoriasis and the vitiligo, they didn't even know what supplement to offer their patient. And then he realized there was something special here. Something special. He said medical medium information knew the cause. Therefore, medical medium information knows the cause, then must know what to use for it, because how would it be able to know the cause and then not know what to use? Because he said to me, he was in the blind, and practitioners and doctors were in the blind. They couldn't see because you didn't know why someone had a problem to begin with. Then how do you even know what to use to fix it? It changed everything for this practitioner. It changed everything. And then the practitioner called me up and said, listen, I have a patient. They're bedridden, Anthony. Bedridden. Neurological symptoms of some kind, and we don't even know what kind they are, and we don't even know what's really happening. He's been to so many specialists and so many neurologists. He can't hear sounds. If he hears a sound, it's too much for him. He lays in bed and squirms. He can't function. He can't walk. He's dizzy. He has vertigo. Hypersensitive. He can't sleep good. His skin crawls. His skin burns. He's in agony. He lays there and he feels his whole body vibrating. And I'm assuming, AW, we just don't do the celery juice, right? I'm assuming we have to do more. And I said, it's critical to have the foods right. We have to get the foods right, yes. We have to do the celery juice. We have to make sure we take out foods that are a problem. And we have to bring foods in that are critical to the healing of the process. But we have to know what's wrong with this patient. It's neurological symptoms. Over a dozen neurological symptoms. More than a dozen. Because his nervous system was under attack from neurotoxins, viral neurotoxins. He had multiple viruses. Now, no doctors knew this back then. They didn't know that information. This practitioner said he's never even heard of that before anywhere. He talked to a lot of different colleagues, a lot of MDs, a lot of other kinds of doctors, and it was new. They're like, okay, what do we do? I said, we need to have supplementation. The good stuff, the right stuff. We have to pick and choose properly. The protocol has to work. And he said, well, what do we do first? I said, B12. Now, back then, there wasn't even the good B12. There wasn't even the good stuff. It was the bad stuff. It was not just synthetic, but not compatible for the body so much. It was the bad stuff. So cobalamin, that's the one right there, right? And I said, we have to use it regardless. So I told the practitioner, we need a high dose of B12. And when he applied the high dose of B12, something started changing because the diet wasn't enough. It was a foundation. It was strong and it was critical. But in this case, we needed something else. We needed extra power for healing. And so this person had a severe B12 deficiency, severe neurological breakdown, nerve sheaths were injured and inflamed, multiple viruses, severely B12 deficient. And this practitioner, this doctor, gave his patient B12 and a lot of it. And for the first time, this patient was able to move and lift their arm without being in agony as they laid there in bed. When the nurse brought the bedpan over, this person said, I can do this myself, and pushed themselves out of bed. After 4 days of that B12, pushed themselves out of bed, grabbed a walker, walked themselves to the toilet, went to bathroom, needed some assistance to get back, but it was a miracle. And this person saw every alternative doctor in that day, every alternative practitioner, from naturopaths to herbalists, to healers, to energy healers, to MDs, to specialists, to neurologists. And it was that high dose of B12, and it wasn't even a good one. It was a high dose of B12, and it changed everything. Everything. Now, if this doctor and practitioner said, well, let's just stick to whatever it was with the acid reflux case, a little bit of celery juice, problem went away, and that was that person's experience. Let's just stick to that. Then the person who was bedridden would have never had a chance and would have never be able to get started up again. It was more than B12 that person needed, but that's what that B12 did. Right there. And the person was able to start their healing journey, and then we were able to add more to it, and then we were able to make it better. And then the person lost 5 symptoms, then 7 symptoms, then a dozen symptoms, and now the person was up and moving, taking walks, living their life. Now this patient had multiple viral infections, and the practitioner that was getting information from me was learning we need antivirals. So not only were we using B12 to restore nerves and bring nerves back, but we were using other herbs, other supplements to bring back the immune system, to knock down viruses and bugs, because that person had a lot of viral debris, viral neurotoxins, viral infections, different varieties of low-grade viruses, and we needed to get that cleaned up. So that person had plenty of supplements to work with because we knew what we were doing. We knew what we had to go after. And the practitioner learned and then taught other doctor friends too with their patients. If you have patients with these neurological symptoms, here's what supplements you need to use. Now, this person recovered, but they had to use enough supplements and herbs combined with foods, combined with the heavy metal detox smoothie, combined with the celery juice, combined with the cucumber juice, combined with the thyme tea, combined with the lemon water and the lemon water flush every single morning, combined with the leafy greens and the wild foods, all of it. And the person needed the supplementation too, the antivirals. Now, if we told that person, you don't need any of those antivirals, you don't need any of that B12, you don't need any of those supplements, You can just do this through food and through food alone. The person would have never made it. They would have atrophied, stayed in bed, lost every bit of muscle, wasted away, and disappeared. That's what would have happened. Food's critical. It's one part of it. And food may be all you need for certain problems. Food done right, done properly, right? May be all that somebody needs, and then they're back on track and they're better and they're recovered and they're exercising and they're strong as an ox and they're living their life. They're doing their leafy greens, they're doing their fruits, they're doing their wild foods, they're doing their smoothies, they're doing their steamed potatoes, they're taking care of themselves. And if they're an animal protein person, they're doing some animal protein and they're doing all these other things. But they're doing their diet and they're doing it, and that's what's moving them forward, and they're healing, whether they're plant-based and doing it or whether they're animal protein and doing it. They're getting rid of the foods that cause the trouble, the problems, that feed the problems. Their immune system overcomes everything. They get stronger. They move forward. That's their experience. That's what they can do. But then there's all these other people out there in the world, all these other people with lupus, multiple sclerosis, right? ALS, Parkinson's, brain fog, severe brain fog, all kinds of other different conditions, fibromyalgia, RA. And what about all the mystery symptoms? Hundreds of different symptoms: neck pain, back pain, leg pains, restless leg, insomnia, eyes burning, face burning, tongue burning, gum burning, everything hurting, and all of it. And then tremors and seizures. People who have all the different seizures, the different tremoring in their body, the vibrations in their body, and then the nerve pain in their jaw, their teeth, their gums, right? So many people have so many different problems, including the fatigue and the hair loss and everything else around it all, and the skin problems. And they may need more than just getting the diet right or getting the diet better or improving their diet, even if they have the best diet there is for healing. Even if they're doing the medical medium 369 that has turned people's lives around. There's so many people, thousands upon thousands of people that have used the 369 to rid their gout, to rid their bursitis, to rid their pain, their suffering, get rid of their skin problems, and move forward. But there's so many people that have so much more going on, and they're different, and they have a different pathogen, a different problem because of it, and they need more. If someone heals from using foods just right, they cleanse enough poisons, toxins, they restore enough from what the value food holds. They get all those phytochemical compounds, those nutrients. Their body responds, and they heal, and they move forward. And they did it with very few supplements. Maybe they took supplements for a short term, then didn't need them anymore or feel like they needed them anymore. And I felt really empowered, like they got this. We got it, you know? And it's incredible. But this is a snapshot in time. What if they pick something up? What if they get a new streptococcus? What if an old dormant virus sitting inside their liver decides to come out that's been there for many years, and it decides to come out? What if they have an emotional experience, maybe the loss of a loved one, a parent or somebody, and it takes them down a notch? Maybe they go through a different kind of hardship of stress, or they just contract another pathogen, or they pick up a flu that's going around. It knocks them back, and something dormant inside comes up. What if something happens and all of a sudden food's not enough and the game has changed? The terrain has changed. They have something else they have to contend with. Meanwhile, they healed through food, very few subs. They moved forward in their life, and they were so proud of their experience that they told everybody else, hey, this is all you have to do. This is all you have to do, and you can do this. You don't need any supplements, or you don't need too many supplements, because you just don't. You can do it this way. You can do it this way. And that's incredible. That's their experience. But what if that changes 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 8 years from now? And they realize, whoa, I got something else that I must have picked up along the way, or something else that came out of dormancy, and I got to tackle this differently. And I'm going to need some supplement help here. I'm going to need different tools, and I'm going to have to use those tools. But wait, I've been telling people all this time and all these years that they really don't need any supplements anymore. I was giving them my experience, is what I was doing. I wonder how many people heard me say that, and it turned them off to supplementation, and they never used them, and they were in much worse shape than I was. Maybe they had a neurological condition and multiple viruses at that time, and they got scared away, scared to even think about having more than one supplement, scared of thinking about a higher dose of a supplement, thinking it could all be done with food or something. And they just kind of fell to the wayside and disappeared into the internet. And that was it. And who knows after that, when I had their attention and then lost their attention, and they're out there now swimming around doing the musical chairs, afraid to ever venture into supplements. Or if they do, they end up venturing into the wrong supplements, like apple cider vinegar supplements and zeolite and, protein powders and bentonite clay and collagen, and the list goes on and on and on. I know maybe whoever's listening now may say, well, bentonite clay is great, but whatever, but it's not good for someone who's really sick, or the low quality factor of different supplements. And then they're confused out there and afraid of it all because of that person's one experience. But that person's experience can change. It could change in 5 years. And then they left kind of a wake for 5 years of all these people that are afraid because they heard information that wasn't really right for them. They didn't realize that everybody really is different, and there isn't a one-size-fits-all for healing. There isn't. There's different complications within the body. Some people have 3 or 4 Epstein-Barrs, a cytomegalovirus, HPV, HIV, and streptococcus. Another person has C. diff, lots of E. coli, 2 different varieties of streptococcus, H. pylori, and an Epstein-Barr. Another person has 2 varieties of shingles, 2 varieties of cytomegalovirus sitting in there dormant inside their liver or coming out finally, and a whole bunch of other problems. And within all of this, someone else could have also the toxic heavy metals and the pesticide exposure and all these other different exposures they had in their life. And they won't know to customize. They won't know to customize the right supplements for the right problem and the right foods for the right problem too. And they won't know how to do it at their own pace. Like start with 3 or 4 powerful supplements or 5 powerful supplements. And as you go through life, we go against different things and different pathogens and different toxins and different exposures. They won't know how to kind of bring up the ante for their healing. They won't know that. And if they're up against different stressors and different emotional challenges, they won't know how to shift their supplementation to move and groove with what's happening in their life. Because they're just going to remember somebody's experience. Well, that person was fine just doing food and food alone. And that person said that you don't even need supplements. It's just way too much, way too overwhelming and too much. And then you lost them. They had that moment. They could have learned. They had somebody's attention. They were listening. And now they're confused. And they're going to remember that. They're going to, and yeah, of course, they're going to remember, oh, no, I don't want to take supplements anyway. And that's why I like with the medical medium information in the books, it talks about that. It talks about the different levels of how somebody's sick and what they can do as they move along, customize the protocol so they have a chance. Because, yeah, celery juice can knock out some back pain, get rid of some acid reflux when nothing else could for somebody. That's how incredible that tool is. But then there's that person who's got a lot more going on, and they're going to need their celery juice, and they're going to need also that additional support and help. You know, medical medium information taught the health world that metals cause a huge variety of symptoms and conditions. This wasn't out there before. People didn't know that toxic heavy metals caused eczema. It just didn't exist out there. They didn't know it caused bipolar, seizures, depression, anxiety. Nobody knew toxic heavy metals caused all that. And Info taught the health world, slowly over time as the years gone by, that metals were a big part of these conditions and even caused directly these conditions. No one knew it was metals. Therefore, no one knew what supplement or food to use for that condition. And there's a difference with that. Medical medium info taught the health world that Epstein-Barr was the cause of multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, right? Hashimoto's, chronic fatigue syndrome, rheumatoid arthritis. The info just wasn't out there, simply wasn't there for anyone. Therefore, if you had multiple sclerosis, you just stayed sick. That was it. Someone had multiple sclerosis. They didn't know Epstein-Barr caused it. Therefore, they didn't know how to go after the Epstein-Barr. Therefore, they just stayed sick, and that was it. But it was medical medium information that said, it's Epstein-Barr that's causing multiple sclerosis, you guys. So there's also supplementation we can use to go after the Epstein-Barr, which was also Info too. It gave that person who had multiple sclerosis a chance to learn why they were actually sick and what to use. And that person needed supplementation. Now, I've seen people with multiple sclerosis heal from using the foods, but there's different levels of MS. One person with multiple sclerosis diagnosis is different than another person. So if a practitioner has someone come to them and they say, look, I got multiple sclerosis, practitioner, what can we do? Well, let's get you off the fats. Let's get the wheat out, the gluten out, the dairy, the eggs out. Let's get the soy. Let's get the canola oil out. Let's get the MSG out. Let's make sure the wild foods are in there. And let's make sure you got all the celery juice, and we get all the wild foods. We get all the leafy greens, and we make sure we use the foods at their best capacity. And that person might heal, absolutely, their multiple sclerosis. And it's be gone. They're healed. And then there's that person that comes to that practitioner and says, I got multiple sclerosis, what do I do? And they're bringing in the celery juice. They're bringing in the foods. They're taking out all the bad stuff. They're lowering the fats. They're doing incredible medical medium tools. And they're just keeping it real clean, more than just clean. Strategizing with some different cleanses, doing the lemon water every morning, maybe mono eating. And they're getting rid of a few symptoms. And their multiple sclerosis is improving, but they're not out of the woods yet. They're still struggling. They still have a lot of neurological symptoms. And then you got to bring the supplementation in. That's when it's critical, because we need the B12, we need the zinc, we need the lysine. These are just a few things here. But we need things to knock down the viral load, the very thing behind the multiple sclerosis, the Epstein-Barr. the licorice root, need the lemon balm. We need the powerhouses to start knocking down that Epstein bar so that person starts to recover. We need the tools to recover the nerves. And we need the tools to knock the viral load down and clean up the neurotoxins. We need the tools to get the metals out too. A person with multiple sclerosis can have more metal than somebody else with multiple sclerosis. They're going to need the spirulina, barley grass juice powder, the dulse, the cilantro, and the wild blueberry. They're going to need that medical medium heavy metal detox smoothie. And yeah, in their capacity with what they can do. And if that's not enough, then we branch on to more if we need to, because they could have a very difficult situation. Their nerves can be very beaten down. They can have lesions on their nerves from the Epstein bar. They can have a liver filled with loads of byproduct and neurotoxins from that virus or viruses. Their vagus nerves can be blown out. The phrenic nerves blown out, facial nerve blown out, neurotoxins. It could be severely zinc deficient. All of this is critical to know as a practitioner. They may need more vitamin C than someone else does. And the other person with multiple sclerosis of a diagnosis of that may be real mild, less viral load, less metals. Maybe they only needed vitamin C for a little while. And foods covered the rest for them, did the rest for them. But what if that person with multiple sclerosis has a lot more stress in their life than the other person with multiple sclerosis? What if they have more stressful situations, more emotional trauma, more hardships, a difficult situation in their life with somebody they're living with, and they have multiple sclerosis? Then the B12 levels are going to have to go higher for the nervous system. And what if they can't eat perfect all the time? What if they can't do the foods the way they need to do the foods, but they can take the supplementation? So the supplementation keeps them afloat while they're not able to do the foods perfectly, because they may not be able to do the celery juice perfectly and the wild foods and the leafy greens and keeping the fats low or keeping the fats out. They may not be able to eat perfect. So thank goodness they have the right supplementation to help keep that situation afloat in their life. It's so critical. But that's how different everybody is. Some people may not be able to do the foods entirely. And some people may not be able to do the supplements either, but at least it's there for them if they have a chance in their life to move forward and go further with their healing and customize their healing. Critical that they have the option. I'll never forget that person laying in bed. And I have known a lot of people that have been bedridden since throughout the years and decades that doctors have talked to me about. And I'll never forget that person that laid there. If he didn't get the B12 that he needed, even with his diet being good while he laid there in bed, he never stood a chance. Never stood a chance. He was going down. His doctor told me he was going down. Every sign was showing that direction. It was atrophying and withering and wasting away. And it was the B12. It wasn't even a good one. Can you imagine a good one? A good one changes everything. When a good one like methylcobalamin and dinosylcobalamin, that's different. This was the bad one many years ago. And this patient was so desperate, meaning their nervous system and body was so thirsty and desperate for it, that it took that bad B12 and it elevated the person to get them to get out of bed, to start the process, to be able to take on some more supplements. Now, you don't have to be doing, yes, 1,000,000 supplements. But the point is that some people need more than 3 or 4, and some people need more than 10. Now, there's supplementation out there that gives good supplement's a bad name, so let's cover that for a little bit too. Now, bad supplements give all supplements a bad name. That's what bad supplements do. They burn people out. They try a lot of different bad supplements, spend a lot of money, and then they're just turned off completely so that even if they were to learn about a good supplement, they're not going to jump. They're not going to be like, whoa, that's amazing. Let me try that and try to heal. They're burned out. They're burned out by a lot of supplementation that was unnecessarily given to them because it wasn't the right stuff. It was the poor quality or the wrong choice to begin with. And it just burned them out financially. It burnt them out emotionally. They tried it, been there, done that. But we shouldn't lose hope because there is good stuff out there, and the bad stuff and the bad experiences, they give good supplements a bad name because it generalizes it. So let's go into the generalization factor here, which is critical to understand. We can't just say supplements and then pretend they're all the same. And that's a disaster. It's a disaster for somebody to heal. It's a disaster for someone that needs the information they need. We can't generalize it. There are supplements that have harmful things in it and supplements that don't have anything harmful in there. And there's supplements that are really low quality and supplements that are really high quality. And then there's supplements that have hidden things in no one sees or knows, like MSG. And then there's supplements that don't have any MSG in them. So we can't generalize and wrap them all up with a big bow. Some supplements are good for you. Some supplements are harmful for you, even if the person doesn't know or the industry doesn't know or the trend out there in the industry doesn't know. And so practitioners are recommending them, or they're just being sold somewhere or advertised out there, and they're harmful. They can actually hurt the person. So there's all these differences. So we can't generalize it and lump them all into one big story, right? One big basket. And everybody's different too. Someone with a chronic illness takes the right supplement, it could make or break their healing. That means help them heal. Someone that's really chronically ill has the wrong supplement, it could make or break their healing and they don't heal. And those are the differences. And there's subtle differences to very large differences. And then when someone who was really sick, aches and pains, body is humming and vibrating, ears are ringing, dizziness, balance issues, brain fog, they're hurting everywhere. They have 3 or 4, 10 diagnoses, and they healed from doing their foods the right way and doing their supplements the right way with the good stuff. It doesn't mean you stop at all. It doesn't mean it's just you don't need to do it ever again. You still have to take care of yourself, eating the foods you need to eat. And there still is a reason to keep a baseline, supplementation baseline, preventative, so you don't end up sick again because of susceptibility, because you were already down and out for so many years, saw so many doctors, were sick for so long. And that person could be sick for 10, 20, 30 years. And they finally heal and put it all behind them, but it doesn't mean you throw the supplement basket away unless your doctor tells you to do it, and then you listen to your doctor, of course. But it's not the best thing. And I've talked to doctors about that. And then the flus that people constantly contract, the different pathogens that are out there, because this day and age has changed. This day and age is different than it used to be, even 10 years ago, and changed since 20 years ago. So many different pathogens have gotten stronger. So many different chemicals and heavy metals have gotten more intense. And this is the way of the land and where it's going. So it's not about throwing away that basket of supplements because, hey, don't need these anymore. It's also about preventative baselines. It's also not taking things for granted, not taking your healing for granted, because maybe those supplements you were taking that were in your cupboard, in your pantry, or such a big part of your healing that you don't want to just discard it forever and take them for granted or tell someone else. And yeah, everybody has the right to do what they want. They can take anything for granted they want to take for granted, but maybe not kind of tell somebody else that, hey, you don't really need those. You can do it all this other way or this way. We have to have options. No one size fits all. It just doesn't. Everybody has a different blend of pain and suffering, different blend of toxins and poisons, and different blends of metals and viruses and pathogens and bacteria. And because of that, we have to safeguard preventative. We have to learn how to heal. We have to know, wait a minute, if I'm not better after that fifth supplement, then maybe I need the sixth and the seventh and the eighth. Maybe I need to go a little bit further because I got a lot to tackle inside of me. But my friend got better with one supplement and foods, and my other friend got better with 3 supplements, and my other friend, I think, needs 20 supplements probably because they're really sick. They get the simplex cold sores all the time. They got the chronic fatigue syndrome. They've been diagnosed with autoimmune times 7, basically 7 different autoimmune labels depending on what doctor they went to. And maybe they need more. And here's the glory. Here's the beautiful part of it. Here's the blessing of it. You can go at your own pace, and you can take one supplement and one dosage at a time and go at your own pace. But to know the options are there and the healing is possible and you can go as far as you need to go is critical. And you could rotate and add in. And if you're somebody that's sensitive to everything, you're going to be sensitive to foods, you're going to be sensitive to supplements, you're going to be sensitive to chemicals outside, you're going to be sensitive to pesticide spray from your neighbor's lawn. You're going to be sensitive to air fresheners in the aisle at the grocery store. You're going to be sensitive to all kinds of things. So you're already rotating and revolving around different foods and different supplements anyway. And I talk about that with the protocols in the medical medium books, chemical sensitivities and food sensitivities in the medical medium books. And I talk about the supplements that are trouble too. The ones that push people down and push them back. And that's one of the problems with healing is we could be taking a good supplement that's helping you and keeping you afloat and taking a bad supplement at the same time that's dragging you down. So your healing is just not quite moving the way it needs to move because you're getting chipped away with this thing that's not working good and you're getting elevated by this thing that is working good. It's kind of like how people are doing the celery juice right now. They're drinking celery juice. All the influencers are drinking it. Everybody's drinking it now. It's keeping them afloat so they could do things that aren't good for them, that are dragging them down, but the celery juice is actually leveling them out to keep them afloat to do the bad things. But same thing happens in supplement world. It's like you could be taking fish oil, like I said, all the mercury that's hidden in fish oil that nobody knows about because it's really there's a methyl mercury in fish oil I talk about. And then you're taking that while at the same time you're taking some zinc that's really high quality. So you're kind of like balancing it. You're taking the zinc for your immune system, you're taking the fish oil and lowering the immune system. And so that's what you're doing. That seesaw's going on. Everybody's different. We're all human. Our hearts beat just like another person. Your heart beats like someone else. My heart beats like your heart beats. They may not beat perfectly the same, but they all beat. But when we're chronically sick and there's real issues deep down inside our organs, inside our nerves, inside our brain, our liver, our connective tissue, and the game changes. It's not just about all of us having a heart and that heart beats, all of us breathing air because our lungs are taking in oxygen, It's beyond all that. That's when none of us are the same, and all of us are different. Spirit of Compassion has always said to me throughout the years of helping so many people heal that knowing the true cause to why you're sick is half the battle won. Knowing what to do, what to take, and how to apply those tools is the other half the battle won.